Hello everybody, this is Bobby Mills once again for the Endzone Online. Today we're up in Caro, Nebraska at Centura High School. We're going to interview Coach Bart Cron. We're very happy to be here and very happy you could take time to do this, man. It's a busy time, plus you have a class.
Absolutely, it worked out.
$800 for somebody to cover your class, no big deal.
A couple favors later. He coaches basketball, so I'm sure I'll get something at some point there. So.
That's exactly right.
No, thanks for coming down. Anytime to talk football is always a good day.
It is a good thing, especially up here, man.
Absolutely.
Everybody's pretty passionate about the game. So this is your first year as head coach, I think. But how many years have you been here as an assistant?
I was here as an assistant for 1 year before I got the head job. And then before that, I was in Kearney with Coach Cool for 3 years.
Oh, that's a good learning too.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Coached there for 3 years. And before that, I was back home in Colorado, coaching in the Denver area there.
They're not playing this year, huh?
Well, they've kind of jumped in. Some districts are saying they are, some aren't.
Good.
Which is kind of weird. Some districts are still going to say they're going to wait until the spring, but I'm just glad we're getting football in down here. I mean,
that's right. I don't want to be a doubting Thomas, but they're not going to play in the spring. It's too tough. Colleges won't. It's
well,
too
and
tough.
I mean, Colorado's track and field's a pretty big thing out there too. So you're going to have some kids that are generally do both that are now going to have to make that choice, and I think it's going to be tough.
I admire what the NSA did in this whole thing.
Absolutely.
So, were you is this your first head coaching job?
Yeah, this is my first head coaching job. Prior to being at Kearney High in Colorado, I was a defensive coordinator for 6 years. And then when I went to Kearney High with Coach Cool, I helped on the defensive side and coached under Chris Stowe. Chris Stowe was calling the defense there my first few years, and really enjoyed my time there. Learned a lot. It's a great staff, great community. My wife and I really liked living there. And then the opportunity opened up here for me, not coaching wise necessarily, but kind of what started the whole thing was getting back in kind of my roots in the strength and conditioning side of things.
Oh, that's good.
In Colorado, I had done that, helped a lot with our strength and conditioning program, and then I was also a special ed teacher, and that's what I did in Kearney too. And I just kind of, after a couple years in Kearney, I really wanted to get back into the strength and conditioning side of things because
what kind of a program would you have?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anywhere.
Absolutely. and that's kind of where my passion's at. And,
good.
So when I saw the job posted here, I made a phone call and ended up talking to Mr. Rule, our superintendent, for a little while, and was fortunate enough to get an interview, and the rest is history.
Good. Are you teaching special ed here?
Nope, I'm the strength and conditioning coach.
Oh, they have a full. Oh,
Yep.
Wow.
We got a full slate of
smart.
strength and conditioning classes,
Wow.
and then I got two junior high PE classes, so we have an 8-period day.
Oh boy.
But it's been fun. The kids here, it's the smallest place I've ever been. I mean, before I came here, Kearney High was the smallest school I'd ever been at. We were a 5A school in Colorado where I was at. We had about 2,200 students.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of a culture shock coming to Caro, but
boy. You didn't
you
see
know,
me.
I'd been in the small town atmosphere a little bit. I was lucky enough. I played at Shadron way back when. So I've kind of spent some time in the small town, and it didn't bother me. And my wife's from Sargent, so
Oh boy, that's God's country.
it wasn't
up there.
really. I love going up there, but it wasn't too big of a change here. It's just the hardest part was when getting used to having 100 kids at practice to having
Man.
30 to 35 kids. All of a sudden, you got to structure things a little bit differently at practice than what you do at those bigger programs.
But boy, if you can get a school to do it all day, I mean, have strength and conditioning classes all day, man, you're on the right track there, because some of them don't. I mean, the bigger schools do. Yeah, I know how tough that Denver area is, because I've seen Denver East playing some playoffs game, and I was playing on the road. I'd end up in Denver sometimes and go to those playoffs games.
Yeah.
Those are big schools.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, I suppose they're on the same level Omaha is, so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just those big schools and those big numbers. You get some pretty prestigious programs that even on their down years are still winning 7-8 games, and they just keep. It's not necessarily a rebuild as much as it is a reload for those programs
And play and have a lot of lower tier
Absolutely.
stuff.
Absolutely.
So tell me about your coaching staff. I don't know if it's the same as last year. I'll remember the names.
Yep, our staff's the same as last year. For the most part, Coach Bowling did step down when I took over as head coach, and then He stepped into the high school principal role, so he's not helping coach
That's
this year.
tough, yeah.
He still comes out from time to time,
Good.
and he's around, but he isn't able to have the time commitment that we need for the whole coaching staff. And then Mitch Marvin's back as our offensive coordinator.
That's a good
He's
man.
also our head basketball coach.
Yep.
And then Scott Kozinek, he's still on staff with us and
Good.
helps out quite a bit with the O&D line stuff. And then we brought up Lathan Brown.
Oh, you
He's
did?
our head girls basketball coach. He
Yeah.
did junior high last year. Great young coach, really absorbs things, wants to learn, really gets along well with the kids. And we brought him up, and he's coaching linebackers for us this year. He's done a really good job.
Good.
So
Well, so how many kids do you have out this year?
we have 34,
You know,
which
I mean,
only
there's-
my second year here. People tell me they haven't had 30 kids out for football in a decade. So
No, see, every time I'd come up here, I mean, there were times when it was, below 30, and wondering with 26 how they're gonna get through that final game and still qualify for the playoffs, so
Absolutely.
that's pretty good, man, and I
Yeah.
don't know in a school like this if you could get 45 to 50 kids out, but,
oh man, if we could, I'm trying. We're trying.
I
We've
know.
got our junior high. We don't have a lot of 8th grade numbers, but our 7th grade numbers right now at the junior high level, I want to say we've got 13 7th graders out. So
good.
our 6th grade class looks like, thinking long term, I think we're going to get about those same numbers. So if we can continue to keep those kids out, that will definitely help. And then I've got a couple coaches that aren't in the building. About Coach Brand, he's been doing the secondary here for quite a while. Brand's with us, and then Kevin Dvorak has come and started to help us quite a bit.
Good.
Last year he helped us on Friday nights up in the box, and
I didn't think he was full, okay.
yeah, he started this year. He's been around quite a bit more,
Good.
2-3 days a week when he can, and that's helped a ton too.
Are there any kids walking the halls that should be playing? You don't, I mean, let me tell you their names.
There absolutely are, and it's been that way everywhere I've been, even in the big schools. I mean, sometimes those big schools you may not know every kid. Like I have the, fortunate
But you
enough to
can
know all
see
the
'em,
kids here,
though.
but you'll walk the halls sometimes, and you see those kids that definitely should be playing football, and we got some of those kids this year that didn't play last year.
Good.
We got a handful of those kids out, and they've done a really good job, and they've bought in. A big one on that end is going to be Troy Rasmussen. He ran cross country last year. His brother Trent's a tight end for us.
Yes.
Both big kids, both really good football players, good basketball players, and,
Yeah.
and Troy's jumped in and done. Shoot, he's a two-way starter for us now.
Good.
So
Good.
it's been great having him out.
Yeah, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No.
But there's a couple of schools that come to my mind, Centura and Donovan Trumbull, where the people walking down the hall or around town, you gotta be tough to play football there. And it scares some people, but I mean, they do it right up here. I mean, they tackle and block and do it the right way at these two schools. You think that's a big factor? I mean,
Some of it is and some of it isn't. I think some of it is some kids now have, I think there's from the outside perspective, there's such a negative image with people that aren't involved in football so much about what they think with the head injuries and things like that. And that's definitely a concern, but the safety and the technology and some of the equipment we have now is better than it's ever been before.
never been better.
So I think that's part of it. And some of those kids I think some of the kids want to grow up a little bit too soon and have a job. And I'm all for that. Not sitting at home doing nothing, absolutely out being a job, but I'd like to see you out competing and
You're gonna work the rest of your life, have some fun.
exactly. Come play some sports and enjoy being a kid and some of those things. So
Until you've experienced Friday Night Lights, you just do not know what you're missing, man. A lot of lessons to be
Absolutely.
learned in football,
Absolutely.
camaraderie. So, did you return 5 or 6 starters last year? Both sides, is that
yeah,
close?
we were right in that area there. We have 5 seniors on the team, so
Okay.
we're really young.
Yeah,
We start 5 sophomores and a freshman on offense, and we got 5 sophomores on defense. It took a little bit to get things going early, kind of find kids in the right spot, and just we were making some of those young sophomore mistakes. When you're that young, you're going to make some of those mental errors, and unfortunately, with the teams we were playing early in the season, week 2 and week 3 with Bridgeport and St. Pat's, those teams capitalize on those mistakes.
They do.
But I've been really proud of the resiliency of our kids and the way that they've learned and come back and they've started to fight through. And that game last week that we played against David City, that was our best all-around game. And that was a game that I was a little bit worried about going into.
I saw those guys play the week
Yeah.
before, Coach. And I'm thinking, was Vadichka, the quarterback, hurt? Somebody said,
Nope.
Centura
Nope,
just
they were
flat
there.
out beat them 42-13. I'm going, what kind of a team does he have up there?
Yeah, the kids played well, and it's the first complete game that we've played.
Boy, that's a good football team. I
Where
mean,
we got going, and we got going fast, and we had some things go our way early, and David City's a good football team, and I was looking at it going, talking to our kids, don't look at their record, because the teams they've lost to are combined 14-1.
That's
This is a
right.
good football team that's coming in here this Friday. We cannot look past this, and we got to start fast. And our kids did a great job preparing, and what I really enjoyed watching our kids do is how physical they played on Friday, because David City's a physical
They
team.
are. They don't have that many kids, but they are physical.
Absolutely. And our kids came right out and matched it and were flying around and putting a hat on a hat, and it was a fun game to watch.
Boy, I bet that was, yeah,
us.
especially if you're on that end of it.
Yeah, it was nice
That's
being
a
on that
big
end of
win,
it.
man. Mark that one down, because don't kid yourself. And Aquinas will find out how tough David City is this week, because they are a good team, especially that quarterback. So tell me about your offense, Coach.
So our offense is
Who's the quarterback?
quarterback's Eli Wooden.
No, gee, nobody's ever heard of him, have they?
Yep, the Wooden boys have done a lot for Centura over the years. I didn't have the pleasure of coaching his older brother, but I've been lucky enough to coach Eli for 2 years, and he's a different kind of kid, because when the lights turn on Friday, he finds a whole nother gear.
Oh, man.
And he does a good job of leading by example, and he goes about his business, and he's very reserved. He's not too over the top. He's not too full of himself. He's very coachable, and he's continued to make strides at that quarterback position all year, because last year he played receiver.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Didn't play any quarterback for us, and we asked him early in the year to step in and do that for us, and he's done a great job doing it.
Must be doing well.
Absolutely.
What's your pass to rush ratio?
We try to be about as balanced as we can. We do a little bit of the RPO stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of it comes down to the read that we get.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. He distributes the ball really well, almost to a point where there's been times where we're like, hey, why don't you just keep it here and go get those yards?
Yeah.
And he's trying to spread the ball out, which I know is going to help us on the tail end here, because we've got 3 big games coming up with Gibbon, and then Ord's going to be a big one, and then we end the year with GICC. So that unselfish play is going to be really important.
Okay, to keep him healthy.
Absolutely.
Your injury situation pretty good?
Injury situation's pretty good.
Some bruises as all, maybe?
Not too bad.
Good.
The biggest thing, I guess, is our starting one of our tackles and our starting DN amidst a global pandemic has mono.
That's the second one I've heard of all things,
Right.
Jeez.
We're worried about COVID so much and everything else, and all of a sudden, that was kind of a disheartening text message to get on Saturday morning. But we're hoping, obviously he needs to be healthy and safe. And
Sure.
we're hoping that we can get him back here at the end of the year, because he's a big part of our team on both sides of the ball.
Well, I hope he does come back, yeah, because that's a heartbreak for anybody to get mono, even if there's no COVID going on.
Yeah.
So do most of your offensive guys two-way starters on defense?
Yep. We have, I want to say, I should have looked at this before you came down.
Well, that's all
I
right.
want to say we have 8 of our starters on offense also play on defense.
I
It
see.
might be 9, but most of our kids are both way
That's what
guys.
you gotta do.
Yep, absolutely. And the ones that don't start on offense, that are starting on defense, they're playing on offense anyways, rotating in at wide out, running back, some of that stuff. So they're still getting good quality snaps.
Yep. For years, Centura never had a 1,000-yard rusher, and of course I'm the 1,000-yard guy. I'm thinking, but they played all right without it.
Yeah.
They finally had one, but that's a strange thing. But they've distributed the ball for years among their backs, and
Yeah.
it's never just one guy. So that's the way to do it, man. If you want to keep them healthy. So what about positioning in the wild card standings? Are you happy where you're at? Are you 13th or 10th?
Yeah, we were
10th, something
13th.
like that?
I looked 13th before, or just before we played the game last Friday. I haven't looked at them this week.
I didn't either.
I love with obviously that we're getting to play football, and I understand teams coming down and needing to be safe. When we lost the Twin River game due to the COVID stuff,
Yeah.
we ended up picking up a game against Schuyler on Friday morning. I mean,
Did you
I was
really?
driving into work.
I didn't know when that was
Yeah.
picked up. I thought it was awful late, but good for them.
Yeah, so we found out Twin River called and let us know Thursday at like 2 o'clock that they had something come up and COVID, and they weren't going to be able to come down here.
Yeah.
So I didn't think we were going to get a game. I thought we were just going to be on a bye week, which was unfortunate, especially with those seniors. You know, don't want them losing a game for something like
Never.
that. And then I was driving in about 7:30, and I got a call from our superintendent, said Skylar was interested in playing. So as soon as I got to the school,
Absolutely.
we got that finalized. They said, hey, we'll come down here. And I'm like, great, we're going to have a home game too. This is going to work out awesome. And they came down here and played, and kudos to their kids and our kids. I mean, with such short notice and no preparation for an appointment,
Well, yeah.
to just run out and play. And I wish we could get those PowerPoints.
I know.
That would definitely help since we went out and got a game. But we also knew going into it that if you lost a game due to COVID, whether you picked one up or not, you weren't going to get anything out of it as far as.
But this probably benefited you.
It was great because we got more out of being able to play that game against an opponent than we're going to get at practice.
Man.
You know,
Really
practice with 35 guys, you've only got so much depth. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
We can go out and play a game. We got quite a bit out of it, and our kids grew quite a bit from it. And I think that was a big part of. Looking back at it, I'm very happy we did it going into David City.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have that lull in there. We were able to just kind of keep going and keep building on our momentum and try to keep the ball rolling.
Sometimes you don't need a week off, do you, Coach?
No.
I mean, before going into a game.
No.
I mean, if you're banged up, it's fine. But,
Yeah.
And like you said, kudos to Skylar. They've been down for so long, and I think this is the best team they've had for as far back as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a good bunch of kids that want to play football. They've got the Hispanic kids going out for football.
Absolutely.
They're always good at soccer, but you want to get them out for football too.
Yeah, they had a lot of kids out.
They do.
And,
Yep.
they had couple of pretty good athletes, and
What was it
we'll
like
go
with no
after.
preparation? Tell me that.
it was a stressful morning for me because growing up in Denver and then being in Kearney for 3 years and then coming here, I don't know where Skylar is. I know nothing about him. Nothing. Don't know him from the man on the moon.
It's not like cross counties.
8 o'clock in the morning, we exchange film, and I'm trying to break it down between classes just to kind of figure out what they're going to run and what I can kind of somewhat tell our kids before the night. So it was by 3 o'clock, I was exhausted.
I bet it was crazy, man. I've often wondered what it would be like if nobody had headphones on the sidelines and that situation, what it would be like. Still fun though, but awful stressful before if you want to do it like normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the final score of that game? Was it a couple of three?
Oh, that one was 35-7.
Was it? Okay.
It was right in there. I
Yeah.
can't remember offhand.
Still a Friday Night Lights game, man.
Absolutely.
And you
Defense
didn't have
played
to
well,
travel
offense
there.
got going. Yeah, and we didn't have to travel. That was a bonus. Because I thought for sure we were going to be in a neutral site, and then they came right out and said, well, we'll just come there. Because they were going to travel, whoever they had on their schedule, they were going to travel anyway, so they already had it all.
Good.
All the buses and everything booked, so it worked out well.
So who's on the schedule left? You said you're playing Gibbon. Is that a home game this week, or you
Nope,
just have
we'll be on the road.
one home game? That's Ord.
One left. Yep, we got Ord next week at home, and then we finish the year regular season at GICC.
And hope they play an afternoon game instead of having construction lights. Oh, did I say that? I guess it's okay on the field.
Hey, as long as the kids can see, I'm fine. I don't mind. I would like to be able to see too, but I'm not too worried about that other
okay
stuff.
for the players, but for pictures it's kind of weird. But
Yeah,
hey,
I'm sure the lighting's a little bit tough.
different, I guess. I haven't been there, but the Ord's films look a little bit funny. But you think you'll make the playoffs?
Well, I sure
it looks
hope
like
so.
it right now. I mean,
I sure hope so. I mean, we're going to have to play well, and we just got to try to keep winning and putting ourselves in a position to be there and continue to grow and not make those mistakes that we were making earlier in the year. If I could go back and rewind the clocks to that St. Pat's game, that one.
Oh boy.
We kind of kept every time we get something going, we just hinder ourselves and shoot ourselves in the foot.
And they wait, don't they?
And they're a good football team, and you can't make those mistakes against a good team because you're going to find yourself down in a hole you might not be able to dig out of. So, but if we can keep the ball rolling like we have been the last few weeks, and our offense is firing on all cylinders, defense is playing well, and God willing, we can stay healthy. I think we'll be right in the mix there to get in. So
well, I hope Eli can stay healthy at the controls of quarterback because he's probably a good field general, probably as good as you want to get out there. Be like having a coach out there.
Absolutely.
Does he play linebacker or safety?
He plays outside linebacker.
Okay.
Yeah, and that athleticism he has back there, I mean, you don't wanna have the ball in anybody else's hand every down except for.
No, I see him
that
on,
kid.
I see him on film. And of course, you're gonna change your home game to an afternoon game, so I can come up more toward and sit in the. Boy, do I love those games under the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get very many people, though, do you, Coach?
Nope.
So anyway, well, let's keep our fingers crossed. This is a good football team up here. You crowds, I don't need to ask, you're getting good crowds because they're there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I never really have found myself to look up there that much, but I know we got great support from the community. We got good families, good kids.
Yep.
You
They're
know,
hardworking kids too.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely, and feel like we can just keep that going, and hopefully we can keep showing well for our community and the type of kids we have. And
I'm sure you'll do fine. I hope, can't wait till the playoff things comes out. You take them one game at a time, but, you know, let's get those Centurions in the playoffs. Keep coming, keep supporting them in town and out of town. And it's been a pleasure, Coach Cron, talking to you.
Awesome.
And I sure hope everybody stays healthy and keep the COVID bug away, and we'll all be all right.
thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for having us
Have a good
up.
one.
Coach Cron, Centura High School, for Carissa behind the camera. Bobby Mills and Endzone Online. We'll catch you next time.